According to Adedamola Ladejobi, I have realized that weight loss is greatly tied to wellness. I'm a living proof. I used to be 40 kilograms heavier than I am now, but I changed my lifestyle and the weight came off, leaving me much healthier and better for it. This is a confession of a Nigerian who bravely wrestled and overcame obesity. Obesity, yes, the health condition that affects the young and the old. And it is a cause for public health concern. This will be our focus on Better You today. My name is Yetunde Jayola. We will go on a short break. There is so much more to come. Please stay tuned. Welcome back. A mini documentary on obesity is next on our lineup. Thereafter, views of Nigerians on matters revolving around the subject matter. Subsequently, our resource person will provide meaningful insight on issues thrown up by the respondents. Do enjoy the mini documentary.
In a March 2022 report by the World Health Organization, that's the Africa region, 1 in 5 adults and 1 in 10 children and teenagers are projected to be obese by December 2023 in 10 high-burden African countries if no robust measures are taken to reverse the trend. The WHO analysis further reveals that the prevalence of obesity among adults in 10 high-burden countries will range from 13.6 to 31%, while in children and adolescents, it will range from 5% to 16.5%. Africa also faces a growing problem of overweight in children. In 2019, the continent was home to 24% of the world's overweight children under the age of 5. In its own findings, the World Obesity Observatory, 6.5% of Nigerian men are obese, 9.9% of women are obese, and 18.2% of women are overweight. In boys, 8.3% are obese, while 10.3% are overweight. In girls, however, the figure is that 10.6% are obese, whereas 16.7% are overweight. According to the National Library of Medicine, the direct and indirect cost of obesity in Nigeria is not known, but is expected to be huge considering the high prevalence of obesity in Nigeria and the fact that Nigeria is the most populous black nation on earth. Obesity's increased prevalence in Nigeria, however, is matched by rising levels of obesity comorbidities such as hypertension and diabetes mellitus. Consequently, there is a need for the various levels of government and other key stakeholders in Nigeria and other sub-Saharan African countries to invest more in preventive, diagnostic, and treatment of obesity and its comorbidities.
Stop chasing after the wrong things. Start chasing after the right thing. and you will be on your way to curtailing or reversing the menace of obesity. Without much ado, Nigerians are talking, and this is what we found out.
Information is power. I research and I make sure I eat right. Basically, there are food and items I don't take. I don't drink, I don't smoke, and I don't take sugar at all. Instead of sugar, I prefer honey.
The reason for a lot of people having weight or too much weight is that they are not controlling the way they eat and the kind of food they take and the kind of drink they take. Like me, you see me now, sometimes I take sugary things, but I control it. And I take fat, but I control it. A week, I can decide not to take any soft drink or any fat.
Most Nigerians believe that when they take much alcohol, it's a way of living a good life. They call it enjoyment. They eat at the wrong time without going for exercise. And that is why you see before they know it, they're becoming overweight.
For you not to gain much weight, you need to stop eating junks, eat a balanced diet, take fruit, and do your exercise regularly. When you exercise on a daily basis, your weight will be controlled so that you won't get too much weight.
When you talk about obesity, it has to do with diabetes. People that you see with big tummy, they have problem because if there's free flow of digestion, the tummy will not come up. There are ways to get rid of it, but people, because of what beclouded their eyes, like problem of life, make them not to even think of solution to it. Unhealthiness causes most of these things that you are seeing. It's not evidence of good living.
According to Dada J.P. Vashwani, good health is a precious gift. Without it, all other gifts are insipid. Dr. Chika Unwodo is our resource person on Better You Today. I am positive that you will gain one or two impactful information from our interview. Thank you for staying tuned.
Medically, we say that obesity is a chronic illness characterized by a high level of fat in the body. So what is fat? Adipose tissue, that's what we call fat. Like a lot of people ask, okay, how do you know that when you're getting this bad fat? Aesthetically is the first way you know if you're obese. You look in the mirror, you're seeing changes, you're seeing that you're adding weight. Obesity in adults, we have calculators that we use to say this individual is obese or not, and we have measurements we use. The standard would have been, in a layman's term, to check the quantity of fat in your body, which is not easily accessible, especially in this part of the world. So we use calculators like what we call BMI, that is body mass index. This is gotten by using an individual's weight and height. So you check the weight in kilograms, you divide it by the height in meters square. It's going to give you what we call the body mass index. Now we have a range. When someone's BMI is less than 18.5, you'll be like, okay, this person is underweight. But when you have BMI between 18.5 and 24.9, that's an average weight. That's okay. When you have 25 to 29.9, we have people that fall within the category of overweight. Then everybody greater than 30 is obese. Once you're heading towards 40, you're called morbidly obese. So that's for the BMI. Now, something else we use is a measurement we call the waist circumference. You can check it in inches or in centimeters. So in centimeters, for example, the Waist circumference is the thinnest part of your torso, or like your abdomen, technically. So when you check it and it's greater than 35 centimeters in a female, you're considered obese. If it's greater than 40 centimeters in a male, it's considered obese. Now that's for adults. In children, we prefer to use percentile. So a child that is greater than 95th percentile of the weight is considered obese. A child that is born obese has a higher chance of being an obese adult than a child that wasn't born obese. Okay, the percentile is a chart, actually. So it's not like we have it off head. It's actually a chart, a WHO standardized chart. So when you have a child in front of you, you check the child's height, you check the child's weight. Now you go to the chart and you plot it on the chart. So there are lines on the chart that gives you, there's a green line and there's a red line. When you check the chart, it's going to give you an idea of what percentile this person falls into. Now when they say percentile, it's like percentage. So they've checked the weight of a lot of children, and then they've said that, okay, 95% of the population falls within a certain weight. So saying that you're above the 95th percentile means that you now fall into the 5% that it does not align with the required weight. So you're overweight or obese in that phrase. So technically, are causes or things that can predispose you to having too much fat in your body. So the first and foremost thing that has been recognized worldwide is the fact that everything, medically or otherwise, is linked to genetics. So it's linked to your gene. If it's in your gene, it's going to show. So if in your family line, you're genetically predisposed to being fat, you have a higher chance of being fat. Doesn't necessarily mean that you must be fat. It's just saying you have a higher chance of being fat, so you better watch out. So the next thing that can predispose you to obesity is lifestyle. Do you exercise? What type of work do you do? So WHO, that's World Health Organization, recommends at least 30 minutes of exercise for 3 times every week. So at least 30 minutes 3 times per week. A lot of people don't do that. So if you have a sedentary lifestyle, you're more predisposed to being fat. If you have a schedule where you sit all day, less mental work, less physical work, you don't burn so much energy, you don't burn so much calories, you're predisposed to being fat. And so lifestyle is a part of it. Something else is your eating habit, the way you eat. If you eat more fat that you can see, you tend to put in more fat into your body and store up more fat. When you eat proteins, when the body takes up what it needs, it removes the rest in form of urea. That's when you urinate, you remove excess protein. But you see, when it comes to carbohydrates and fat, if it takes what it needs, it stores the rest. So when you're eating so much more fat than you need, so much more carbohydrate than you need, your body is going to store it. And in storing it and storing it and storing it, over time, you're obese. Something else that can predispose to obesity are some medical conditions. For example, hypothyroidism. One of the symptoms of hypothyroidism, that's when you have a low thyroid hormone level, is weight gain. Some psychological conditions like depression, you can eat a lot, it can predispose to obesity. Some psychological conditions that will make you eat so much, we call it bulimia. You eat so much, it can predispose you to obesity. Then another thing that can predispose you to obesity are some medications we use in the hospital. some of the side effects of some medications. We have like oral hypoglycemic agents. So drugs that we use in treatment of diabetes, it's called oral hypoglycemic agents. Some of them can cause weight gain, obesity as a side effect. The clear-cut sign and symptom and evidence of obesity is the aesthetics. You look in the mirror and you see you look big. So that is like the first thing. Before you even go on the scale, when you see yourself, you know whether or not you've added so much weight. And something about obesity is that because you're adding this weight and this fat is usually like internal, it causes a disproportional weight gain. So you see the person having like big stomach, big flabby arms, and it's just very disproportional. So that is one of the evidence. Now, something else that weight gain can cause is what we call sleep apnea, which is intermittent shortness of breath while you're sleeping. So you're sleeping and suddenly you're not breathing well again, you wake up. That's sleep apnea. Another thing about obesity is that it can also cause weakness, intense fatigue. You have a lot of fat, you look like you're full of energy, but you're weak. And something else about obesity is that it reduces your immunity. So you're also predisposed to more infections. So you can come down with sicknesses frequently than any other, as opposed to someone who weighs less. When you have sleep apnea, it's usually as an effect of so much pressure on your lungs. There's so much weight on your lungs. It's not allowing it to expand efficiently. So because of that, you can have those intermittent shortness of difficulty breathing together with intense noise while breathing. That's snoring. So you're having that loud noise because you're literally fighting to pass air as opposed to a heavy weight. Imagine someone sitting on your chest and not letting you breathe well, so it can cause snoring too. So snoring is like one of the signs people get. But then, not all snorers, in quotes, are obese. And not all obese people snore. A lot of people that are obese snore, but it's not, you can't say that once you snore, you're obese. Cosmetically, obesity doesn't look good. You don't look good. If you come from that aesthetic aspect, you already have a low mood. You already feel depressed. You're already having low self-esteem. You don't feel good about how you look. You don't feel good about anything. So it can predispose you to depression. When you're obese, it leads to what we call insulin resistance. Now, insulin is that hormone in our body that regulates glucose level. And we all know that diabetes is high glucose level, hyperglycemia. So when you're obese, you have insulin resistance, which means your body does not work and function effectively in the presence of the insulin. The insulin is no longer doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Over time, you develop diabetes. So type 2 in particular is one of the commonest side effects of obesity. It comes to a point where your blood vessels that help you transport blood and nutrients from one place to another. Now, this fat is so much that it's looking for where to stay. And it starts plastering on the walls of your blood vessels like plaques. Now, when they plaster there, they cause what we call atherosclerosis. And your cholesterol levels are high, your body is storing them in your blood vessels. So this can predispose to hypertension. And there are so many other medical illnesses that can come as a result of obesity. Obesity is not a death sentence. The first step of treatment or management is self-will. You decide within yourself, let's handle this. That's like the first step of treatment. Your first level is targeted at lifestyle modifications. You're changing your lifestyle, you're cutting down on your carbohydrates, you're cutting down on excessive fat intake, you're cutting down on general calorie intake because you don't want to be eating more than you're burning. You're exercising more frequently. That is the gold standard. Like, that is what anybody will tell you to do when you come and complain of overweight, obesity. Lifestyle modifications, exercise. Lifestyle modifications, exercise. So you have to be consistent. You don't just do it and stop, do it and stop. You have to be consistently consistent. Now, in recent times, we also have surgical management. So people do surgeries like gastric sleeve. You reduce the size of the stomach so that you eat less. So it still boils down to trying to imitate your lifestyle. They are helping you to eat less. Some can do the aesthetically pleasing surgeries like liposuction. That's where you suction out the fat. But that's like a temporal solution. If you don't consistently try to live a better life, eat healthy, exercise, eventually you gain the weight again. If the cause of your obesity is from a medical illness, treating the medical illness will treat the obesity. Obesity is not something that happens overnight. It's a gradual process. It starts with adding 1 kg, 2 kg, 3, and before you know it, you're overweight. Before you know it, you're obese. So if you can curtail yourself at the very beginning, you have a less chance of being obese. And the only way we can achieve this is by exercise. As simple as it may sound, it's actually not so easy. Being consistent with exercise is not easy. So you have to try to exercise yourself, exercise your body. Eat healthy, fruits and vegetables, less processed food, less empty calories. You're taking a lot of processed food, a lot of carbonated drinks, all these things have empty calories. And at the end of the day, you're adding weight and you're not even healthy.
Tips to prevent or rolling back obesity. Choose healthier foods, whole grains, fruits and vegetables, healthy fats and protein sources, and beverages. Limit unhealthy foods, that is, refined grains and sweets, potatoes, red meat, processed meat, and beverages, that is, sugary drinks. Increase physical activities. Chew foods properly when eating. Limit television time, screen time, and other seat times. Improve sleep. Reduce stress. Ditch the cigarette. Do not engage in a variety of crash diets. Eat less at a time, more often. Stay hydrated.
In the words of Hunter S. Thompson, a man who procrastinates in his choosing will inevitably have his choice made for him by circumstance. Take positive steps today to reverse obesity. This is where we'll call it a day on today's edition of Better You Today. You can watch these and previous episodes on our YouTube page displayed on your screen. I remain Yetunde Jayola. Stay safe, live healthy, and keep watching the Nigerian Television Authority. Bye for now.